How many biological males are housed in female prisons under BOP?
Senator, I don't have those numbers in front of me today.
Why don't
but
you?
We could look at them and get back to you.
Why don't you?
I just don't have them top of
Did you know you were going to be asked that today?
No, Senator.
Oh, you didn't. Have you been asked that before?
On the record, Senator?
Yes.
I don't recall.
You were asked a year ago in writing, and you failed to answer it in writing. You knew damn well you're going to be asked it today, but you don't want to answer it. Senator Lee asked, why don't you report the numbers? You don't report the numbers because you don't want people to know the numbers. So the fact that you sit there and say, I don't know, he said 1,300. Is that number in the ballpark?
Okay, did you just see that? Because I need a second before we get into this properly. What you just watched was Senator Ted Cruz during Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson's Supreme Court confirmation hearings. And that clip alone should have you asking some real questions. I'm going to be upfront with you. I have an opinion on this, and I'm not going to pretend I don't. I think Ted Cruz walked into that hearing room with receipts, actual book titles, actual page numbers, actual questions that deserved actual answers. And we're going to get into all of it. But first, if you're new here, welcome. This channel is where we don't do the spin. We watch, we think, we speak plainly. If that's your kind of content, subscribe and turn on notifications because we cover this stuff regularly. If you've already been rocking with me, you know what time it is. Drop a eyes in the comments if that clip already got your blood pumping. Let's watch the full thing, and then we're going to get into it.
Ms. Peters, one of President Biden's first acts after taking office was to issue Executive Order 14006, mandating that contracts with privately owned detention facilities not be renewed. The order is intended, quote, to decrease incarceration levels by reducing profit-based incentives to incarcerate by phasing out the federal government's reliance on privately operated criminal detention facilities. This order has created many unintended consequences, including the closing of the Willacy County Regional Detention Facility in Raymondville, Texas. The decision has had tremendous negative consequences with little to no obvious upside, forcing inmates to travel hundreds of miles round trip for court appearances, impacting the accessibility of legal counsel, and making family visits significantly more difficult. It has also caused administration issues for the prison system and harmed the local economy by eliminating these jobs. Literally every stakeholder that has a role to play in these cases is opposed to this Biden policy. That includes the defense bar, the federal public defender, the U.S. attorney, even the federal bench. All have publicly asked for this policy to be rescinded. Unfortunately, as with the open borders under Joe Biden, the Biden administration doesn't give a damn about how their woke policies actually affect South Texas or the lives of regular people. Ms. Peters, how has Executive Order 14006 impacted the Bureau of Prisons' ability to house inmates, and has it been a negative impact or a positive impact?
Thank you, Senator. So we were able to come into compliance with the executive order the end of last November and bring in those individuals from those facilities that were closed, and we were able to safely absorb them into our current population.
Okay, that you didn't answer my question. How has it impacted the BOP, and has it been positive or negative?
Senator, I don't know that I can put it in a positive or negative category. What I can say
is the defense bar and the U.S. attorney and the federal bench, are they all wrong?
I'm not familiar with their opinions and their reasons for opposing.
Okay, unfortunately, you're illustrating that the Biden administration doesn't care about South Texas if you don't even know the impact it's having on all the stakeholders. All right, let's shift to the topic Senator Lee was just asking you about, because I have to say I found your answers to him thoroughly unacceptable. The 2022 Transgender Offender Manual, issued by the Bureau of Prisons through your predecessors, reverted back to the Obama administration's initial designation and housing programming assignments. Notably, biological sex at birth is no longer the controlling determinant. Right now today, how many biological males are housed in female prisons under BOP?
Senator, I don't have those numbers in front of me today.
Why don't you?
We could look at them and get back to you.
Why don't you?
I just don't have them top of
Did you know you were going to be asked that today?
No, Senator.
Oh, you didn't. Have you been asked that before?
On the record, Senator?
Yes.
I don't recall.
You were asked a year ago in writing, and you failed to answer it in writing. You knew damn well you're going to be asked it today, but you don't want to answer it. Senator Lee asked, why don't you report the numbers? You don't report the numbers because you don't want people to know the numbers. So the fact that you sit there and say, I don't know, he said 1,300. Is that number in the ballpark?
1,300 as it relates to which category, Senator?
Biological males housed in female prisons.
No, that would be a much larger number.
Which is a larger number?
So the number of individuals who even identify as transgender at the Federal Bureau of Prisons is around 1,700. And the number of individuals that are housed in institutions not conforming with their biological sex are very low.
Very low. Are we talking 100? Are we talking 10?
We will look at the numbers. We're talking less than 10.
So your testimony here, I just want to understand, your testimony here today is there are fewer than 10 biological males, human beings that were born male, who are housed in female prisons. Is that your testimony?
That is my understanding, and I will confirm that and get back to you.
Okay. Of the 1,700 prisoners you referenced, how many of them are convicted sex offenders?
I do not know the answer to that, Senator.
Are you aware that Great Britain's numbers, according to a January 2022 report, is the proportion of male-born transgender offenders who are sex offenders in the UK prison system is roughly 60%, significantly higher than the 18% of the general population? Are those numbers consistent with the American numbers?
I'm not familiar with Great Britain's numbers.
So let me ask you this. How many female inmates have been sexually assaulted by biological males who BOP has housed in female prisons?
Senator, I would have to look into that and get back to you.
Do you have an obligation to protect those female prisoners?
Absolutely.
And so have you examined how many women have been sexually assaulted by biological males that BOP has placed in the prison with those women?
I have not, Senator, but I will tell you that safety and security and the placement of every individual in our custody is top of mind and the most important.
So if it's top of mind, why haven't you examined how many have been sexually assaulted? This is an obvious question. If you put a man with male genitals, with a male body in a female prison who's a convicted sex offender, it's not rocket science that there's a real risk those women are going to be victims of sexual assault. How is it possible that you haven't even asked the question, how many women are getting sexually assaulted because of the policies of the Biden administration?
Senator, I assure you that safety and security of these individuals are top of mind. And if
So you haven't asked the question?
If there was misconduct, those individuals would be held accountable.
Thank you, Senator Cruz.
All right. Full video. Full exchange. Let's be real. Ted Cruz came to that hearing prepared. Not just with talking points, but with page numbers from books being handed to children as young as 4 years old. You can't dismiss that kind of specificity. You either engage with it or you dodge it. And we all just watched which one happened. Let's start from the top. Cruz's opening was simple and hard to argue with. No one should be discriminated against because of race. From there, he builds a specific case that the school Judge Jackson sits on the board of isn't just flirting with racially charged ideology. It is swimming in it. We're talking about a curriculum that includes critical race theory, an introduction, the end of policing which advocates for abolishing the police entirely, and multiple books by Ibram X. Kendi. Now I know some of you will say those are just books. And sure, books are books. But context matters here. These aren't optional reads for curious teenagers. These are books being assigned and recommended to children aged 4 to 9 years old. That changes the conversation completely. Take Anti-Racist Baby. The book tells young children there is no neutrality. You are either racist or anti-racist. That's a binary being handed to a 4-year-old. And it goes further, suggesting babies should confess when they are being racist. If that doesn't make you pause regardless of where you fall politically, I don't know what to tell you. Cruz asked Jackson directly whether she agreed that babies are racist, a fair question given the book is taught at a school she helps govern. Her answer? She personally doesn't believe children should be made to feel like oppressors or victims. Good. I'm glad she said that. But notice what she didn't do. She didn't distance herself from the curriculum. She didn't say the books were inappropriate. She pivoted straight away. She said she interpreted his question about CRT to be about public schools, not private ones. But Cruz's point wasn't really about that distinction. His point was about what is being put in front of children and who is responsible for the institution doing it. And she sits on that board. Then Cruz mentions that the board chair is her college roommate who literally introduced her at the hearings the day before. So this isn't some distant institution she's loosely affiliated with. This is close. This is personal. And yet she says she doesn't know what's in the curriculum. I'll let you sit with that one. Then we get to Stamped for Kids, also by Kendi, also in this school's curriculum, this time for 8 and 9-year-olds. Cruz reads directly from page 33. Can we send white people back to Europe? That is in a book being given to third graders. If that question were asked about any other racial group, this hearing would have looked very different. Cruz makes exactly that point. This is the opposite of what Martin Luther King stood for. MLK dreamed of a world where children are judged by the content of their character, not the color of their skin. These books argue that colorblindness itself is a form of racism, that seeing people as individuals rather than racial groups is somehow oppressive. That is a serious departure from the civil rights tradition, and it is being served to children before they can fully read. Jackson's final response? She hasn't reviewed the books. They don't come up in her work as a judge. And honestly, that answer is the most revealing part of the whole exchange for me. Because Cruz wasn't asking her to rule on the books. He was asking her as a person, as a board member, as someone who could sit on the highest court in this country, whether she was comfortable with any of this. Whether she had a view. The answer was essentially that it's not her department. You can disagree with Cruz's politics all you want. But what he did in that hearing room was bring documented, sourced, specific material and ask clear questions about it. And the questions were fair. Should 4-year-olds be told there is no neutrality on race? Should 8-year-olds be reading a book that asks whether white people should be expelled from the continent? Pushing back on that doesn't make you a racist. It makes you someone who thinks children deserve a childhood before they're handed the full weight of adult ideological battles. Ted Cruz made that case. Clearly. Specifically. In a room where doing so was guaranteed to get him called names. And I think that deserves to be said. Let me know in the comments where you stand on this. Was Cruz out of line, or did he ask exactly the right questions? If you got something out of this video, share it, because these are the conversations we actually need to be having. See you in the next one.